This episode is brought to you by Death on the Nile, exclusively in theaters Friday. The greatest detective of all time, Hercule Poirot, returns to solve another deadly case. Join Poirot on a wild ride down the Nile River, promising luxury, intrigue, and murder. Grab your friends and get ready to solve this murder mystery on the big screen, starring Kenneth Branagh and Gal Gadot, premiering only in theaters Friday.
There was just an empty plinth. The cup wasn't there.
I wanted to make a replica, but you can't distinguish it from the real thing.
Act as an intermediary between the police, the FA, the government, and the thieves themselves.
If they put it in a film, nobody will watch it because it was so unbelievable.
The theft of the World Cup trophy in 1966 was one of the most audacious heists ever committed. The trophy depicted Nike, the Greek goddess of victory, and in 1966 the England manager had promised that his team would win it. The cup embodied the pride, hopes and dreams of a nation and was stolen just a few months before Queen Elizabeth II was due to present it to the winners at Wembley. The identity of the thief has never been uncovered, and the official story has been told and retold ever since. But in 2017, an underworld source of mine revealed evidence of a far darker and deeper tale. I'm Tom Pettifor, crime editor at the Daily Mirror newspaper in London. This series will follow my investigation into that tip-off, examining what really happened to the cup and who took it. It will take us into the seedy world of 1960s gangland London, police corruption, and the secret making of a fake trophy. This is Stealing Victory, the untold story of the 1966 World Cup heist. Episode 1, 8 Bloody Screws.
Morning, driver. He needs to go to the Methodist Central Hall, Westminster.
OK, mate, jump in.
March 20th, 1966. It was a Sunday like any other for black cab driver John Dickens. He had his orange light on that morning as he waited for customers on a taxi rank outside the Westbury Hotel in Upmarket Mayfair. The man remained silent throughout their 10-minute journey around Trafalgar Square and up Whitehall. When they arrived at the Methodist Central Hall, he just smiled and handed over the exact fare. John saw him go into the building through the main entrance sometime between 11 and 11:30. He later gave police a description of the man.
He was thin-faced, between 30 and 40 years of age, about 5'8" tall, wearing dark trousers, a black raincoat. His hair was black, greased and pushed back. There may have been a parting in the middle of his hair. He had a sallow complexion.
It's a detailed and striking description of a man we will hear a lot more about. For John McLaren's, it was also an unremarkable Sunday morning.
I went to work in the morning. I think it was about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Went into the building, went into the inside hall where the actual exhibition was of the stamps.
John was a 20-year-old jobbing actor doing security work to bring in some extra cash. He's a big man, so would also work the doors of some London clubs. He'd already done a few jobs for Alsagard, the company responsible for looking after the trophy. If you're wondering about his accent, John emigrated to Canada in the 1970s where he became a long-distance trucker. I first wrote to him in 2018 after getting his police statement from the National Archives in London. This is the first time in 54 years that he has spoken publicly about what happened that day.
Walked through the hall and I went to see the two fellows who were supposedly guarding it. The older guys, they'd been there all night, I think.
That's it, George.
Anyway, reported there, said hello, and I was assigned to go to the post office collection, the penny blacks, which was down in the basement. So off I went and sat there for about 3 hours, and I got a little bit bored. There was no light except for artificial lighting. There was no windows or anything.
By late morning, John McLaren's and our mystery taxi passenger were both at the Methodist Central Hall. It's a stone's throw from Big Ben and the cradle of British democracy in the Palace of Westminster. It's also a short walk from the Met Police's headquarters at the time in Great Scotland Yard. And inside was the World Cup, or more precisely the Jules Rimet Trophy, named after the FIFA president who founded the competition. Why was the World Cup in a church hall? Well, it was on display at an exhibition being put on by the stamp merchant Stanley Gibbons. Their own collection of rare penny blacks and the like was worth around £50 million in today's money, far more than the trophy, which was valued at just £50,000. The elaborate dome Baroque-style building had hosted suffragette rallies and the first meeting of the United Nations General Assembly. It had heard speeches by Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King and Winston Churchill. On this chilly spring morning, it was about to add another moment of history to its rich cultural heritage. John picks up the story.
I eventually went upstairs and asked these guys, is it possible to change over and let them have a chance downstairs? They were mumbled about it, but they were having their cup of tea and didn't like being disturbed. And they agreed. So off they went. Off I went. Came upstairs, put my little lunch bag down. The two old guys, they were old. I shouldn't talk like this. It's just, I could say more things, but I won't. As I said, they were in the office the whole time upstairs from what I could see. They were just sitting there with their crumpets and their biscuits or whatever and then tea. That was the big thing with them, tea, you know. Anyway, they were talking about the old days.
The Jules Rimet trophy was small, not much taller than a bottle of wine. The Art Deco-style figurine was made of sterling silver with 14-carat gold plating, and it had been designed by the French sculptor Abel Lafleur for the first World Cup in 1930. It depicted the goddess Nike holding a 10-sided cup above her laurel-wreathed head, her impressive golden wings unfurling behind her like rays of sunshine. According to the ancient myth, Nike was a divine charioteer who flew around battlefields awarding the victors with fame and glory. In just a few months, Queen Elizabeth II was due to present it to the winners at Wembley. But for those Englishmen responsible for protecting her on that Sunday morning, success was a distant memory both on and off the field of play. The sun had set on the British Empire and Harold Wilson's Labour government was fighting economic decline. But in a month when John Lennon had declared the Beatles to be more popular than Jesus, things weren't all bad for the nation. England were about to host the World Cup finals for the first time, and some said they could even win it. The trophy was being displayed in an impressive wood-panelled hall on the first floor. The exhibition was closed that day, but the building was open for those attending Methodist church services and a Sunday school. The two most senior guards, George Franklin and Frank Hudson, were stationed in an adjacent office. John was with a junior colleague downstairs guarding the stamps. Crucially, there was no one watching the trophy for most of the morning. George Franklin later told detectives that he last saw the trophy on its plinth at 11 a.m. It would be the last time any of the guards would see the goddess. At 11:25, Frank Hudson took a break to go to the toilet and would later give a statement to the police.
When I came out of the toilet, I saw that the man was holding the telephone with his back towards me. I went back into the office and locked the door. I would describe the man by the telephone as about 35 to 40 years of age, 5 foot 8 inches tall, medium build, sallow complexion, black hair, greased down, brushed back, dark eyes, long face, thin lips, wearing a black suit, black leather shoes, light shirts and dark tie.
Hudson's description of the suspect is almost identical to that given by the taxi driver, right down to the sallow complexion and the black greased back hair. Also in the building that day was a maintenance worker. He told the police,
"We went out of the hall and locked the door with a padlock and chain. I picked up a long wooden bar with closed on it and put it between the door handles of the doors of the rear entrance to the exhibition hall. The wooden bar went through all 4 handles, and that's how I left it."
Now, remember those door handles and that chain? They were all that was separating the thief from the cup. You're listening to Stealing Victory. I'll be back after a short break. This is Stealing Victory. John McLaren's again.
I went across to the display with Stanley Gibbons, biggest stamp people in the world, and they were the people who were putting the cup out for display. And they had very strict insurance things. We could not move that cup regardless. Even at night time when there was no one there, it had to stay there on its plinth. So I went across and they had canvas awnings around the display. And the canvas awnings were over to the side, like being opened up. It was just an empty plinth. The cup wasn't there. And I stood there and I was trying to work out what happened. I was kind of worried. I just thought, where is it? Isn't it supposed to be here? Because everyone had told me the cup does not move. Watch the cup. But how could I watch the cup if it wasn't there?
Just 20 years of age, second day on the job, and you realise possibly the most famous trophy in the world has been stolen. What do you do?
I went downstairs to see the two guys who had just settled downstairs with their little cups of tea. And I asked them, and I was laughing. It was a nervous laughter, I guess, because I couldn't believe what was going on. And I said to them, did you move the cup? Did you put it somewhere? And the guy said, no. And I said, well, are you sure about that? I said, yes. And he was very hesitant. He was looking at me like, what am I going to say next? So I said, well, that's kind of funny because it's not there at the moment. And they just gaped at me and put their cups down. And we went upstairs, three of us, went across to the display of the Jules Rimet cup. And there it was, nothing, just the plinth. Within 15 minutes, you couldn't move. There were so many cops running around. I've never seen so many policemen in my life. It became a mayhem. When the police turned up and the detectives in Scotland Yard and just said you couldn't move for people, just everywhere. It was insane. Plus, the reporters, they were there as well. I don't know how they'd find out things. Well, they were there, badgering us like you wouldn't believe.
And sure enough, in no time it was international news.
And this is where they took it from.
On the grainy black and white BBC newsreel, a reporter stands in front of an empty display cabinet. A broken little padlock on the side of the awnings can be seen hanging loose.
And one thing more, we were told when the cup went in here that the most stringent security precautions were being taken to protect it. Today, somehow, they failed.
Immediately, John witnessed how this huge news story was being misreported by some journalists. The boundary between fact and fiction distorted.
I had a guy from the Daily Sketch. He was bugging me the whole time about, when's the last time you saw it? How long was you not looking at it? And I said, the thing wasn't out of my sight more than 15 minutes. And he said 15 seconds. That's what he put in the paper. I shouldn't have said anything,
So the press kind of obviously were misrepresenting this story right from the very beginning.
Well, that guy was. 15 seconds. Come on. Well, you know what the press is like. Oh, sorry.
Among the witnesses interviewed by detectives was Margaret Coombs. She had arrived for Sunday school at around 11 o'clock.
I went to the toilet, which is just outside the exhibition hall. As I went in, I noticed a man stood by the gents. He was about 40 years of age, 5'7", well-built, grey, receding hair, and wearing a light overcoat and scarf. I thought he was waiting for his wife, but there was no one in the ladies. I'd never seen this man before, and I've been coming here for the last 8 years.
So Margaret's description is markedly different to that given by our other two witnesses. Instead of black hair, this suspect is grey and balding. He's wearing a light coat, unlike the black one worn by the suspect number one. Meanwhile, officials in charge of security were under pressure and struggling to come up with answers.
With a departmental store of millions of people coming through, I know this wasn't particularly the same thing, anybody can do a little shoplifting act. I'm not saying this little shoplifting act, far more serious than that.
That was Cecil Richardson, the exhibition's chairman, comparing the theft of the World Cup trophy to a little shoplifting act. An unfortunate choice of words, you might think, and perhaps indicative of the lack of care taken by those in charge of the security. John remembers the atmosphere being heated as everyone scrambled for answers.
So then the House of God, they were really ticked off because it all turned on them. I'd done a few things with them, like Olympia Stadium, Earl's Court, did some security work there on these shows they did. But
did you get paid for your work that day?
No.
You never got paid?
No.
No. Did you? You didn't ask for your money then?
No. I was telling so many people about it. I was having a real laugh. I got plenty of free drinks out of it. Telling people. But
John's recollection of that morning's events also give us some vital clues as to how the thief got the cup. Remember those door handles and the chain that had been locked by the maintenance worker? When he came back up the stairs after noticing the cup was missing, John saw what had happened to them.
I'd already checked the side door, which is right next to us, the swing doors that come into the inside hall where the show was on. And it was open. The metal plates on the doors had been unscrewed, but it had been chained on the outside. So all they had to do was unscrew 8 screws. 8 bloody screws.
Let's just stop and ponder that for a moment. The most prized trophy in the world was on display in a building that was open to the public, but the internal double doors into the hall were only secured by a padlock chain running through the brass handle of each door. So all the thief had to do was unscrew one of the handles from one of the doors. Photographs in the police files show the detached handle still chained forlornly to its partner while the door is open. Once past that hurdle, the prize was there for the taking. This is the first of many darkly comic moments in this saga. Fittingly for our story, John would later appear alongside John Cleese, Eric Idle, Michael Palin and co. in one of the first episodes of Monty Python's Flying Circus. With no idea what the job entailed, he was sent to Trafalgar Square in the heart of London.
And they said, action. And the girls were wearing very short miniskirts. And we had cloth hats on and raincoats. And they had us running around, the 2 girls, and they were throwing bread to us. And we were flapping our arms going, cuckoo, cuckoo.
And you could imagine Cleese coming into Westminster Hall and sort of go, it's gone, where is the cup?
God,
yeah,
yes,
yes. It is really Python-esque, isn't it? The whole.
I just think it was Monty Pythonish. I mean, it was Fawlty Towers. I mean, it was crazy, so silly, like Goodies. You don't remember the Goodies? You're too young.
I do remember the Goody, goody, yum, yum.
Well, I was in that as well.
It gets more and more surreal the more you tell us about this, John.
I just think the whole thing was absurd. It was so badly organised, I thought. But I'm sure the people of Alcigard would disagree.
Alcigard's owner, Eric Reed, did come under a lot of pressure. The FA had agreed to allow Stanley Gibbons to display the trophy from Saturday, March the 19th to Friday the 25th, on condition it was insured for £30,000 and watched around the clock. It was agreed that Reed would supply 5 uniform and 2 plainclothesmen by day and 4 men at night. The only exception was that Sunday, when just 4 guards would be on patrol. John and his colleagues were all part-time staff. Reed said in his statement, "This is the first time during the years I have been dealing with security that an exhibition hall guarded by my security officers has been broken into, and I have no reason to distrust any of my employees." But as I said in the introduction, most of us know the official version of how it ended. Within a week, Pickles found the trophy in a suburban South London street. England went on to win the World Cup, and the Queen presented it to Captain Bobby Moore. The nation rejoiced, and Pickles became a national hero. But not so fast. That's the neat and tidy version of history that we English like to tell ourselves. But it's just that, history, and there's always more than one version of it. My underworld source had given me a tip-off that could help solve the 50-year mystery of who stole the cup. He told me it had been nicked by a professional thief who often worked with his brother. They were from the Walworth Road area of southeast London. All I had to go on were the names they were known by in criminal circles, their approximate ages and where they'd come from. The throwaway comment by my source would mark the beginning of months of investigating, the story of which I will be telling over the course of this podcast series. We'll hear from the owner of the dog who found it.
Just pull up outside the door, bash straight through, swing the doors, the old sergeant steps back. Oh, I was here. I think I found the World Cup.
The policeman who had the top secret mission on the day of the final.
I said, I'll have that, you have this. Okay. And I took the trophy out. He gave me that.
And the England player who lifted the cup.
We had the fake one? I did not know that. Bloody cheek.
What we unveil is a tale of shady deals, FA lies, and the secret making of a fake trophy. It tells us something about the stories we choose to tell ourselves and those we choose to forget. And it's the story of the search for an incredibly elusive man with an unforgettable head of hair. Stealing Victory is an original Audi production. If you've enjoyed listening, then please do like us on your podcast app, leave a review and subscribe. Our hashtag is Stealing Victory, all one word. More information can be found at audi.co/Stealing Victory. Stealing Victory is written and hosted by me, Tom Pettifor, with thanks to everyone at the Daily Mirror for their support during the investigation. Sound design is by Norman Goodman. Theme music by Nick Reynolds and Edward Rose. Title music by Guy Farley. Executive editor is Owen Bennett-Jones. Editor-in-chief Andrew Sampson. And series producer is Zach Brophy.